Business, I'm Stark, and in this video we will be looking at Henry VII and the development in education. And to do this we will look at drama, music, architecture and the invention of printing. So the role of education was significantly increased in the Tudor era, and between 1460 and 1509, 53 new grammar schools were founded. And the two types of school included the petty school, and this taught young children to read and write, and the grammar school, and these taught lessons in Latin and were for older people. Now there was also university education, but this rested solely on Oxford and Cambridge. And Cambridge especially were able to expand with the founding of Christ's College and St John's College, which were both funded by Margaret Beaufort, who was Henry VII's mother. Now, most of the education was funded by the monasteries and the church, in which the teachers were usually priests. And Henry VII also encourages education, as did he encourage arts and arts. And the education he gave himself clearly reflected the Renaissance, which was this development in education. And this may have been influenced by humanists and Renaissance scholars who placed a greater influence on education and developing human knowledge. And he encouraged writers, poets, musicians and artists from around Europe to come to England. Now, this was shown by the fact that Polydore Vergil was allowed to write a history of England, and John Skelton wrote poems about the excellent rule of Henry VII. So Henry VII clearly promoted this arts and education. And drama was one of a very important art form, which was very common at church ale festivals. And the most famous plays were performed at the Feast of Corpus Christi. And this was designed as a festive occasion, and it gave a particular moral religious method in these plays. Now, music was also extremely important, and this was represented at different levels, from just the local pub to choral pieces in cathedrals. And in the Tudor times, music was affected by the Renaissance as music started to become more melodic. And the main source of music from this time was the Eton Choir Book. And this was made in 1505 and had a collection of 93 musical compositions. And these pieces of music were composed by both Thomas Browne and Robert Fairfax. And both were close linked to politics, and even Robert Fairfax even received patronage from both Henry VII and Margaret Beaufort. Now, music was often performed to accompany meal times, and secular songs, which means that they didn't have a religious meaning, were used for entertainment. So architecture was less of a big topic. However, Henry VII did increase the amount of buildings, and he commissioned new buildings such as the new palace at Richmond, and he also created the Henry VII Chapel at Westminster Abbey. He also changed many of the styles of the parish churches, and those parish churches which were rebuilt were built in a Gothic style. So finally, I will talk about the invention of printing, because this really did affect how education worked. In 1476, which is slightly before the Tudor era, the printing press was brought from Germany into England, and William Caxton established his own printing press in 1478. And this was initially used to print medieval works such as Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. However, humanist influences had reached England by Henry VII's death in 1509, and the works printed by Caxton became less popular. And this printing also meant that many things in later could be developed, such as the Bible in English, and many people were able to see things for themselves a little bit more. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.